Severe struggles are hitting soybean farmers as the harvest season gets underway.
Yeah, they've lost billions of dollars in sales already this year, and there's no end in sight for those losses at this point. Fox 9's Corin Hoggard looks at how this is impacting local farmers.
Soybeans and corn grow across 4,500 acres of Faribault County, belonging to Darren Johnson's family since the early 1900s.
We've been around for quite some time.
But the landscape keeps changing around this fourth-generation farmer. Farm bankruptcies are up 95% since 2022. The cost of doing business is up, but sales prices are going down.
And those numbers don't look good and are not improving, particularly because of the soybeans and the trade war that continues to put pressure on those markets.
The level of urgency is especially high right now for Minnesota soybean farmers. Harvest season is now, and this crop is ready to go. But trade wars are giving farmers a tough situation to swallow. They're right in the bullseye for tariff retaliation, and their biggest export market is now a black hole.
Nothing's moving. Nothing's moving.
China usually buys $12 to $13 billion worth of American soybeans every year, but they haven't bought any in months. Instead, they're importing for the first time from Argentina and expanding long-term contracts with Brazilian farmers.
It's going to be tough to get some of that business back that we're losing. Retaliatory tariffs has caused us to be less competitive in the global marketplace.
In the short term, most soybean farmers will harvest their crops and either sell them at a loss or pay to store them, or a little of both. But they can only last so long with income at or near zero. And it's not just soybeans. China has curtailed its imports of American corn, wheat, and sorghum.
There has been times like this in the past, and we've gotten through it, and I know we will again. We just need to make sure that we're making trade deals and get them done in a timely fashion.
The first Trump administration gave farmers a $28 billion bailout after a 2018 trade war, but some analysts say China was better prepared this time, so this battle could rearrange the global trade map. In Wells, Corin Hoggard, Fox.
All across Arkansas, farmers say they are facing an agricultural crisis. Rising costs, market pressures have left many growers in dire need of support. THV 11's Maya Ellison relays their calls for help.
We're beyond ripple. We're beyond crisis. We're to tsunami.
Row crop farmers across Arkansas are sounding the alarm, pushing for help before it's too late.
We're looking at 1 to 3 farms. 1 out of every 3 farms going out of business right now.
Representative and farmer herself, Deanne Vaught, explains the message her and other agriculture leaders discussed during Tuesday's public meeting in Stuttgart. They say it's a tough situation for farms, many of which have been around for decades.
The heartache of having to decide if I can carry on with the 5th generation farm or the 4th generation farm, and knowing that it lands on me if I don't move forward. That is a lot for a farmer to carry on their shoulders.
Now, despite a recent report from the U of A Systems Division of Agriculture showing net farm income expected to rise 22% this year, experts like Jeremy Ross say the math on the ground tells a different story.
You get $10 and you harvest a 55 bushel crop, that's $550, and it costs you $580 to put that in, then you're $30 in the hole.
Meaning many farmers are operating at a loss with debts that carry over year to year.
The truth is, it doesn't really matter what you grow. You are projected to lose money on an acre, really no matter what you've planted on it.
Brandy Carroll with the Arkansas Farm Bureau Federation says inflation, tariffs, and global conflicts have all driven up costs, while crop prices remain depressed. And while experts say the Big Beautiful Bill Act will provide $66 billion in new farm investment starting in 2026, Carroll says by then it's too late.
And so they're facing a really hard choice right now, how to keep their families on their farm and how to maintain their way of life. And so there will be a lot of people making really hard choices.
For THV 11 News,
Shalom. Giving all praises to my Heavenly Father. His name is Yahweh by Yeshim, Yahweh Shah by Yeshim Kahakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders as well.
All across.
Peace and many salutations to Yakion that's toiling in his truth Now, as you can see, China's retaliatory tariffs, is devastating the agricultural industry, and this is a really telltale sign of how strong BRICS has gotten. BRICS has gotten substantially strong to where they're able to circumvent the power of the petrodollar. Okay, and this is something that Trump had actually mentioned in one of his addresses, to the public. He basically said, BRICS is a threat to the American dollar. Okay, so what we're seeing is these various nations, economically rise up against Babylon the Great, aka America. This will be a catalyst to World War III, right? Because as these nations begin to reposition themselves, globally speaking, this will force the hand of Esau Edom. Right, Esau Edom has been on the back foot for many years, right? And you could tell that he's moving in a certain way that shows his desperation. That's why he's coming up with mantras like MAGA and stuff like that. Because if you're looking around, even economically speaking on a global level, Esau Edom is losing, or the American Edomites are losing. All right, and this is going to cause war. So let's get to some scriptures. Now, this is Habakkuk 2 and 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it shall surely come. It will not tarry. Behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. Yea, also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Now, what is this wine that these scriptures are speaking about? Is it actual wine? You know what I'm saying? Right? Or is it talking about philosophy? Well, it's talking about the philosophy, the hegemony of Esau Edom, the cultural dominance of Esau Edom, with his ways, with his policy, with his philosophy. He was able to encapsulate the whole world, and a huge part of that wine is his economic dealings, capitalism, right? You have these Asian companies that have basically likened themselves unto Babylon the Great, and taking on the way of doing business or democracy, right? And Esau Edom has really helped these various Asian nations by building them up, during like the 1960s and things of that nature. China has been able to, basically surpass, America, dealing with exports, by, investing in this economy, changing this economy to an agricultural economy to a more of a service economy. You know what I'm saying? Or a manufacturing economy. And also these other nations, in particular Asian nations, so with the strength of the American dollar, America is able to dictate the contracts with these Asian companies, in trade for, them producing things, So engineering in these various Asian countries, have exceeded America, including places like India. You know what I'm saying? They're and it's more than just getting, cheap labor. We invested in cheap engineering, which was great for a time being, because again, America is able to dictate certain contracts, and they're able to get labor on a very cheap level. But these Asian countries, have made certain political pacts or economic pacts to get away from the strength of the American dollar. And now it's a problem. Okay, right? But this is all prophesied. You know what I'm saying? These other nations are looking at America, in a very negative type of way. The world is getting tired of this place. You know what I'm saying? And we see it with China not bowing down to America, and also the introduction of BRICS. Okay. Now, if you notice, the two countries in which China is getting its soybeans from is Brazil, that's the first acronym for BRICS, and also Argentina. And I'm going to double check to see if Argentina is a part of BRICS. Okay, so according to AI Review, Argentina is not a part of BRICS. It was invited to join the bloc, but it declined in 2023. Okay, so it's not a part of BRICS, but it has ties with China. In any event, what does it shows? It shows that these various countries, they're making pacts to where they don't have to depend on America and also the American dollar. More importantly, the American dollar. Okay, right? So things are heating up economically speaking, which is going to be a catalyst for war. Okay, Habakkuk 2:5. Yeah, also because he transgresseth by wine, he's a proud man, neither keepeth at home. Who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Okay. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increases that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Right? So let's go to this thick clay, or clay, but thick clay. Okay. And I believe it's Abath Yat. Right? Heavy weights of pledges, heavy debts. Right? And this is how America is really able to control these nations, issuing out loans. Okay? Loans that a lot of times are unsurmountable, especially to these smaller countries like these Latin countries. Okay? And also even it's currency, the dollar doesn't have any value, right? It's only backed by contracts, right? Buying and selling oil using the American dollar. Okay, so it doesn't have any real value. It's a fiat currency. These other nations, okay, are again, they're finding ways to do away or to circumvent the power of the American dollar. This is going to lead to, this is going to be a catalyst, I should say, to a hotter war. Okay. These other nations, are saying that they are strong. And eventually they're going to try to come up, against this place. Okay. Verse 6. I want to read this in the NLT. And if you're looking at my screen, that's on the right hand side. But soon their captors will taunt them. They will mock them, saying, "What saws away, you thieves? Now you will get what you deserve. You've become rich by extortion. But how much longer can this go on? Suddenly your debtors will take action. They will turn on you and take all you have while you stand trembling and hopeless." So the Most High is going to do what? He's going to put the spirit on these other nations to come up against this place, bro. And it's very interesting how, even though they're coming up against this place, by making contracts and things of that nature, to not use the American dollar, or not use the products of America, they still have an interdependent relationship with this place. You know what I'm saying? So they're making pacts to, get away from the American grip, but they still, depend on this place to get money. America and China still has a huge interdependent relationship, because America buys the products of China for a cheap price. That's why, even China, they manipulate their currency, to ensure that it's, less viable. So just so that they could, keep that, relationship intact, So as this place is going down and people are tired of the wine of this place, the philosophy of the place, they still, they still are doing business with this place, man. So it's a very interesting and delicate situation, that the Most High ultimately is going to stir up to lead to a hot war. Okay. It's very, very interesting. You know what I'm saying? Jeremiah 51:7. Babylon hath been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her, if so be she may be healed. That's right. So, basically, these other nations, it's interesting because they don't want America to have such a grip, but they need America to be strong so they could benefit off of America and the consumerism of America. Okay. So it's a very interesting, delicate situation, and ultimately these nations are going to have to go to war so they could go to the go to the drawing board once again. Okay. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go, everyone into his own country, for her judgment reaches unto heaven, and it shall lift, and it is lifted up even to the skies. Right? So we're trying to heal her, but there ain't no healing this place. We're gonna focus on our individual countries. All right. You're gonna turn more people, or more countries, I should say, are gonna turn to isolationists. You know what I'm saying? And basically, isolation is somebody who's a country that's only focused on their affairs versus international affairs. Okay, which will lead to what? Which will lead to war. Okay, so we're living in some interesting times. Pray this edifying for you all. Shalom. On to the next.